On January 19th, 2020, a 35-year-old man with a cough and fever was rushed to the hospital in Washington state. Within a day, this man tested positive for the novel coronavirus, becoming the first case of COVID-19 in the U.S. Nearly 2 months later, on March 11th, at the Utah Jazz versus the Oklahoma City Thunder game, merely minutes before tip-off, officials rushed onto the floor to speak with the referees. Unbeknownst to fans in the Chesapeake Energy Arena, Utah Jazz center Rudy Gobert had just tested positive for COVID-19. The game was postponed, fans were asked to leave, and that evening the NBA season was suspended. Just 2 days earlier, Gobert had been filmed mocking the coronavirus, blatantly touching microphones, and was said to have gone out of his way to touch his teammates' belongings in the locker room. With such immature behavior and brashness, it seemed poetic justice that Gobert was the first player to test positive. Soon after, his teammate and star player Donovan Mitchell also tested positive for the virus. A day later, Gobert apologized publicly on Instagram, calling his actions careless and expressing thanks over his treatment. However, the damage had already been done. Mitchell posted on Instagram with a vague caption that seemed to be directed in anger at Gobert, and rumors of a rift between the two emerged. Later, an article in The Atlantic wrote that the relationship between Mitchell and Gobert, quote, doesn't appear salvageable. Fans responded in a multitude of ways. Some accepted Gobert's apology and wished him well. Others were angry and wanted him fired. Others blamed it on the Utah Jazz. And others blamed him for the NBA being suspended. Many are skeptical of his apology. By not taking the virus seriously, Gobert put many lives at stake, was a poor example for other athletes, hurt his team's chemistry, and had he not tested positive, he may have never learned his lesson. With the remaining regular season and postseason up in the air, other NBA players took the viral threat more seriously. Kevin Love was one of the first players who took to social media to spread important information about unity.
What's up, everybody? It's Kevin Love here, just checking in. I know that we're going through some tough times right now, and people are having to navigate stress, feelings of stress, anxiety, the unknown, and this is every day. Every day is presenting a new challenge, and not knowing what the future is going to hold is tough. And when you see people fall on hardships or going through hardships, it's normal to feel this way. So I think now more than ever, we have to practice compassion. We have to be kind. We have to be mindful of our words, our actions, and really practice a sense of community. I think that's really the biggest thing.
Love was able to reach most of his 3.2 million followers with his message, and many more through the 630 retweets of the post, including one from the NBA. On March 26th, former two-time MVP Steph Curry held an interview with Dr. Fauci on Instagram, spreading important information.
If you look at China, you look at Europe, you look at South Korea, it predominantly is reasonably benign, if you want to call it that. You get sick, but you don't get into serious trouble if you're young. Very heavily weighted towards the elderly and those with underlying conditions, heart disease, lung disease, diabetes, kidney disease. Those are the people who have a higher degree of mortality. We know that for sure. We're seeing that a lot now in the United States, but what we are starting to see is that there are some people who are younger, people your age, young, healthy, vigorous, who don't have any underlying conditions, who are getting seriously ill. It's still a very, very small minority, but it doesn't mean that young people like yourself should say, I'm completely exempt from any risk of getting seriously ill. And that's the reason why when we talk about being careful of physical distancing, doing the kind of social separation, it means not only for the elderly, but the young people have to do it too, for two reasons. One, you need to protect yourself because you're not completely exempt from serious illness. But two, you can become the vector or the carrier of infection, where you get infected, you feel well, and then you inadvertently and innocently pass it on to your grandfather or your grandmother or your uncle who's on chemotherapy for cancer. That's what we got to be careful of.
And that's really one of the reasons that I wanted to have this Q&A and hopefully reach, a different demographic or people that, are interested in the facts of what's going on, because you see all the different, visuals of people at the beach, at parks, like in crazy, public gatherings and not really adhering to that social distancing kind of concept.
Over the course of the 30-minute interview, nearly 50,000 people tuned in live, listening to the two cover huge amounts of ground, from the efficacy of masks to the accessibility of tests. As the interview wrapped up, one comment stood out. It was from former President Barack Obama. Listen to science, do your part, and take care of each other. Thank you, Steph and Dr. Fauci. Former NBA player Jeremy Lin, who has been playing professional basketball abroad in China, has also shared his experience about coming home to the US, self-quarantining, Asian American discrimination due to COVID-19, and ultimately choosing light over darkness, in a piece for the Players Tribune titled, "The Darkness Has Not Overcome It." Lin also founded the Be the Light campaign, which serves the homeless and spreads messages of unity and hope. Fast forward to today. As of May 24th, 2020, there are 1.67 million cases of COVID-19 and nearly 100,000 deaths in the United States. The general trend of models shows that the US is still in the process of flattening the curve and slowing from the exponential spread of the disease. The NBA was unique among the major athletic organizations in taking preventative measures so early and decisively. Ironically, one of its players provided a memorably poor example for their fans, but fortunately, others have behaved better. Being an elite athlete brings visibility and a platform from which people can make negative or positive contributions that affect many. Let's hope more make positive ones.